is essentially just part of the training process to give you a little bit more information about what Inspire looks like from the back end to help you train your staff on preparing to have your school districts activated on the Inspire platform. So I guess essentially from there, Leo, I'll let you kind of take us away and guide us through navigating the platform.
Okay, perfect. That sounds good. Thank you so much. Everyone, my name is Leo Abramoff, and I've been with Zello, formerly Career Cruising, for 5 years now. I work very closely with Robin Kubicek at the DPI on just overall implementation of Career Cruising and Zello for the ACP across the state, and also work with our Inspire administrators across the state. There's I believe 10 or maybe 11 Inspire regions across Wisconsin. And for those that don't know, Inspire really makes career cruising and that, program that students are using for ACP, in my opinion, come to life because through Inspire, students can interact with the local workforce. And obviously that's the point of today's call. And I'm just going to share my screen here. Please, someone let me know that you can see the map, and the website is Inspire Wisconsin. Can you see this?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And I'm okay taking questions throughout. I will try to make 5, maybe 10 minutes at the end for some questions, and I'm planning to go until 1:45 p.m. Central, for those of you that are trying to budget your time. Hopefully you're from one of these counties here. You're with the Inspire Northward region. I have them listed. If not, I won't be upset if you leave the call and reach out to us for some support another time. The Inspire program, like I said, it's sort of like an add-on to Career Cruising. I find that's the easiest way to think about this. It's not so easy to just call your school and be like, hey, here you go, you have access to Inspire. There's a ton of work that needs to happen behind the scenes, and that's really what Melissa and team have been doing. And that work involves some customization to the program so that you see, a pretty logo that kind of resonates with you and your students, recruitment of local employers so that when students are in the program, they actually have some companies to interact with from the region. And also a really, really important piece, you may be wondering, assuming all of you are educators or in some capacity, are at the school, what's really important is making sure that students are kept safe. So it all sounds good in a workforce connection, but these are adults interacting with kids. So another big piece of what the Inspire administrators do, Melissa being one of them, is doing a background check on each of the volunteers before they are actually visible to students. Wanted you to keep in mind this website, inspirewisconsin.org. This is where we have all of the different regions, and there's some resources as well. So this little hamburger menu, if you click there, you'll see there's some resources available to you, and it's broken down by user, right? So you would click on the educator resources, and there's quite a few different things available to you. And there's also some labor market information, some information in the media about Inspire in Wisconsin. So this is really a joint effort between the DPI and each of the Inspire administrators in your region. That, of course, is the Northwest Wisconsin Workforce Investment Board. That's sort of the intro. Any questions so far? Anyone not sure if they should be here, anything like that, or am I good to proceed?
Leo, this is Melissa Rapska. I just wanted to make sure that we're recording this session.
Oh, yeah, I remembered and I hit record. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, wonderful. Fantastic. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that was taken care of before you proceeded.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a full disclosure too, so people know. Thanks for bringing that up. All right, so I'll move along. The other thing for you to know is right now, we don't have the Inspire component activated at any of the schools in the region. So hopefully after the training today or whenever you're ready in your conversations with Melissa, we activate Inspire for the region on a school-by-school basis. So if you're like, at a district and maybe you don't have district level buy-in, but you're kind of managing one school, you can, work with Melissa, and then she would let me know the school name. And then usually we also need a main contact at the school, because that person will oversee the students' requests. One big way we allow students to interact with the local workforce is through what we call the activities, the work-based learning activities. So these are things like job shadow and internships. And there has to be one person who oversees those requests. So again, we would just need the school name, who will be that main contact, and you can coordinate that with Melissa. As soon as people are ready to go, we activate Inspire on a school-by-school basis. We're here to support you, and when we do activate Inspire, under the helpful documents, hopefully you all know CAMS. It stands for Career Advisor Management System. It's essentially the educator portal of career cruising. There's a section there for helpful documents. There's already a lot of info there for you, some classroom activities, some materials for you to send home to parents to tell them about what the program is. And then we have, once Inspire gets activated for your school, some classroom activities and other documents specifically related to Inspire. So if you like what you see today and you think, how can I include this in curriculum? I know Wisconsin and the ACP is very much a decentralized state. You don't necessarily have to, do X, Y, or Z. But if you want to use, a resource, the classroom activities is one I like, because for a teacher, it kind of sets the stage for them. And then there's usually a worksheet they can hand out to students, 1 to 3 pages long. So do a little bit of research in career cruising, look up a local company, and then start to think. In this case, the activity or the lesson is called Ask a Career Coach. So we get the students to, explore the program a little bit, look at the education requirements for a career, and then perhaps write out the question in this, activity, perhaps submit it for marks before they type it in on the platform itself. So it's just an idea, again, just some resources that will be available to you when we activate Inspire. There's handouts you can give to students, and I'll show you in case somebody's like, oh, I don't know where that is in the educator side of the portal. Don't worry, I'll show you that in just a few minutes. I will start with the student experience. That's essentially what you're seeing here in this two-page handout, and then we'll finish off with the educator side of the program and stop for Q&A. So your students may go to careercruising.com to log in. Or they may go directly to like a customized school district login page. It all depends. We work with each individual school district, believe it or not, 420 or so across the state, to set up what we call data integration. And each school district will have, a different SIS, student information system. It can be Power School, it can be Infinite Campus. So some will have their own kind of district login page, but a lot of students just go to careercruising.com, which is what I'm doing here, and then I will log in. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay, perfect. So once you're logged into Career Cruising, everyone, the navigation here hopefully is very familiar to all of you. The purpose today is not really an overview of Career Cruising. It's to focus specifically on Inspire. So you're noticing here, my demo account is called Inspire GPS. And when your students log in, they'll see Inspire Northward, and there will be a different logo and different name here. But other than that, the gist of it is the same. And as soon as your students log in, they can see not only employers and companies from your region that have been recruited by the Northwest Wisconsin Workforce Investment Board, but they'll be able to see companies and volunteers from across the state. So right from the homepage, this already looks different. So you have over 1,700. These are real volunteers that are in the program across Wisconsin. You have over 1,400 companies in the system. And out of those 1,715 coaches, there's a total of over 6,000 activities that students can select from. So these are job shadow, internships, company tours, and things like that. Those are the three main features of Inspire. So when we say we connect students with the local workforce, we do it through these, discussion boards, company profiles, and activities. What I wanted to do first is look at a company profile. What does this look like? And there's a few different ways to get there. Obviously, you can just click here. You can go to the Inspire section. And the other reason why I really like Inspire is that it also integrates with the work students are already doing. So a lot of you probably introduced career cruising by doing the interest assessment we call Matchmaker. When students go through that assessment, they get a list of recommended careers. If they click on one, Inspire also gets embedded into that. So for example, if one of my careers that are recommended to me is that of an accountant, you'll see that I don't necessarily have to go to the Inspire section of the program to see those Inspire features. I can see it right from a career profile. So you'll see here, let's pretend I did the Matchmaker. I got a career. And then on the left, you can see that it allows the student to ask a career coach, click on related companies. So this will only show me companies that have indicated they hire accountants, right? They have accountants working for them. And I can see activities in my community. So these are activities offered by a volunteer who is an accountant or a company that offers activities and hires accountants, and a few different areas as well. So right from here, after I've done some exploration about that career, as your students are already doing right now, when we activate Inspire, they can then see some questions their classmates have entered. And this isn't limited to their classmates, is from students across the state. You can see those questions on here. One important thing to note is before any volunteer, kind of touched on this briefly, but any volunteer is visible to a student and can start answering questions, they have to clear a background check. So you can kind of rest assured that they have been vetted. And there are some terms and conditions they have to sign off on that instruct them to not have any discussion with the students outside of the system. So the students can't see their phone number or email address or anything like that, but there is always a possibility the student will ask for that information. So we do tell the volunteers to, not provide anything like that and not have any discussions outside of the system. So that's one way. Another way how Inspire gets built into career cruising. It's not just its standalone section, which of course is here, right? So that's where the bulk of the Inspire functionality will live. Another place is under the My Plan. This is where the students are seeing any careers they've saved, their assessment results, schools they've saved. There will also be an Inspire section. Here's where they can see all of their posts and responses they've received, all of the activities they've requested, and the status for those activities. Where is it at? Are we waiting on someone's approval? Maybe I'll follow up with that teacher, that main contact I said that we need at each school. Students can see where their request is at. And they can also review all of their company profiles that they've saved. So what does that actually look like? I won't go here just yet. Let's go to the Inspire section of the program. This is customizable by Melissa. So the top stories when you log in at your school might look a little bit different. Maybe there's something exciting happening in your region in Northwest Wisconsin. She'll feature that here. Additional resources, maybe you want to add something here that's specific to your students. So there is some customization available to each of the Inspired Mins in their region. But the look and feel will be pretty much the same if you're logging in to Career Cruising in Southeast Wisconsin or Northwest Wisconsin. It'll be pretty much the same. And because we are integrated as a state, the volunteers, companies, and activities available to students will be the same no matter where that student is located. So starting with the discussion board, so I can click on here. There's so many coaches. The number of discussion boards might not be a one-to-one match because a person might have more than one area of expertise. You can be a teacher and a counselor. We have over 600 careers in the system. You can definitely sign up for more than one. on the Inspired Northern website when you sign up to be a volunteer. There are 10 boards recommended to this student. This is based on careers that the student has saved to his Career Cruising My Plan. You can see all of the boards if you wanted to, though. You're not limited to just those recommended to you. And like I said, there's about 600 careers in the system. We don't have a board for every single one of them yet. We're at 417, you can see here. And this is because some careers, it's really hard to recruit a volunteer astronaut, for example, right? Not everyone knows someone who's in that career. So these are, again, real live people. And to ask a question, it's very easy for a student to do. They can click here and ask a question. While I have your attention, I always say, these are kids. A little bit of instruction usually goes a long way, right? Just letting them know these are actual live humans on the other end. Think a little bit before you type something in here. Maybe a good question, may not be a good question. They have to type at least 20 characters for them to be able to post. So we try to prevent some of those really silly, totally random, questions. And we remind students it's not a live chat. So when they post a question, an email gets queued up and it gets sent to all of the career coaches that are moderating that particular board. And that email notification goes out at 10 p.m. Central. So always tell your students, look, you're not going to get an answer until at least tomorrow. It might take even longer. For abuse crisis counselor, we have 5 coaches. And here's what students see. An avatar, a little bit of bio if that was entered by the volunteer or career coach. I use these terms interchangeably. Hopefully, sorry, I'm not confusing you too much. And current roles and responsibilities, or they might not enter anything. So it really just kind of depends. This is user entered. You can start your own conversation, or you can join an existing thread. So you can see this is another student somewhere else in Wisconsin wrote a question, in this case October 24th, got an answer October 31st. So far so good. Any questions? All right, I'll keep going. And there's related boards on here. So this is all very, very simple to use. We want students to be using this, of course, taking advantage of this resource that is available to them. You can go back to the career profile at any time if you don't know what to ask or you want to research a little bit more. That's the discussion board piece. We also have, so here's specific to a career. We do also have a discussion board piece connected to a company profile. So when people are signing up to be volunteers in the program and creating a company profile, they might also want to answer students' questions about their company. So for example, I won't type a question here because this will go out to actual live volunteers, but Kohler Company, I can see they have videos that they've uploaded. I can see company details, like all of this is visible to students. There may be a lot of information, there may be very little information depending on how much the company has entered, right? You can add up to 6 videos. You can see the careers that they hire for. Click on any one of these to go to that career profile, see if it matches your matchmaker or your interests, right? There's usually a link to the careers page so they can show students who they hire, and then also where they have locations, number of employees, out of the 16 national career clusters, how many of them does the company fit into. You can see the activities right from here. I don't want to do that quite yet. And in this company, Kohler, there isn't a discussion board piece, which is what I wanted to show you. We have the career discussion boards and the company discussion board. So let me just show you another company here that I know has a company discussion board. So if we look at our demo company in Wisconsin, you can see that we have the company discussions tab. And same thing, we can see information about what we call the career coach. And I can ask a question right here. So very similar to the career discussion boards, but in this case, I'm asking about the company. Any thoughts so far, everybody, on what you are seeing and maybe some of the things you're already doing at your school to connect students with the workforce? Do you see room for this, a program like this?
And this is Dan. I think this is a great idea, and it's great for kids to have the chat, the live chats, or not the live chats, but be able to ask those questions of people that are out in the field. Um, the biggest thing is recruiting the companies in Wisconsin. Um, I think that's our biggest hurdle right now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great, Dan. And one issue we had before, and I do really outside of Wisconsin, is exactly that. Until we can, until we have a good number of volunteers in the system, we can't really flip the switch for the schools. In a way, the really nice thing for you guys in Northwest Wisconsin is that you do have all of the companies in Wisconsin already. So they might not be local to you, but right away students can see all of these companies on here, which is great. It's just really the state really came together to make this available to students. So you kind of get to piggyback on a lot of the work that has already been done by other regions in the state recruiting volunteers. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
I have one more question. Do the people that are in the chats, let's say a student asks, how much do you get paid? Do they put out personal information like that, or they give them a range, or what? How would they approach the questions like that?
Yeah, it varies. I mean, these people, from what I've seen, they will usually give a range, but it's really dependent on what that individual wants to say. One thing I always say to Inspire administrators, if there's ever any questions about earnings, we have that in career cruising already. So it might also be good to just tell the students, right? Like, please visit that career profile in career cruising.
One more question.
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
can we do as schools to help in the recruiting processes, or is that something we just leave to the Inspire Northward folks?
Yeah, I always say to people when they ask that question, and sometimes even if they don't ask that question, usually parents are working, and if they're coming in and asking about their kids and learning about what's being used, career cruising being one of those things, I would say just sharing with parents is already a great thing that you can do. So if they go to the Inspire Northern website, there's the Join Now form, or if you go to inspirewisconsin.org, you have it here as well. You click on your region, right? There's a Join Now. So I would say just sharing this form with parents is already really helpful. I don't know, Melissa, if you have anything to add to that.
I was just going to say, yeah, Dan, I know that we have our meeting scheduled for next week, and I can go over that a little bit more in depth with you about kind of some ideas that I have for bolstering our recruitment efforts in Northwest Wisconsin. So more to come on that. I feel like that could be a larger conversation, and I don't want to take away from the demonstration today.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But that's great. Yeah, I think we can all use the help then, and it'll help the students ultimately. That's what it's all about. So that's fantastic. Thanks, Melissa, as well for jumping in there. Everyone, just coming back here, and again, just pause me if there's any questions. Just coming back here to the Inspire GPS program student view. We looked at discussion boards for a career, for a company. We looked at a couple company profile examples. The last thing I wanted to show you here on the student side is how do students make a request. So again, the three main features of Inspire: company profiles, discussion boards, and activities. So now we're talking about the activities specifically. Your students will see, you're probably noticing here something's going on, right? The students are going to see activities and companies when they're in the companies page that are within 50-mile radius of where they're located. This is a demo account. I'm not even sure exactly what address we have on file, so I'm just going to see if I can remove the filter here so we can see all of the activities, because that's taking a little while. So within those 50 miles, students will probably have a few activities available to them. How do they actually request? So you can click on an activity name here on the left, or you can click on a provider to learn a little bit more, or you can type a search for an activity name here as well. Just give me 1 second. I shouldn't have removed the filter because then that's trying to show me all of the, I think it was like 6,000 activities in Wisconsin. So that's why it's loading a little bit longer than I like because we're also sharing the screen and recording the meeting. So let me see if I can just come back to this here. Sorry about that. Just trying to make a request, and then I want to show you what that looks like on the educator side of the program, because I think that's probably the biggest new thing for you when we activate Inspire. My computer is overheating. I'm just going to close this and then open it up again, everyone. Sorry about that. Okay. And as you're thinking, who could that contact be at my company, at my school, sorry? Maybe someone who's already involved in, connecting students with the local workforce, maybe someone who's already organizing like company tours. Obviously, those people would be good candidates. Let me just see here. And then as a student, to request an activity, so I'm just going to go through here because I don't want to remove the filter and have that delay happen because we got a lot of things going on here and not much time. When students want to request an activity, they can go through the company profile or the work-based learning activity section. To make a request, in this case for this demo company, it's the only one I can use because otherwise the request will go to an actual educator. I can see the description, and these might change very, very soon. The group of Inspire administrators in Wisconsin are working to standardize all of the activity names and descriptions. The workflow, though, will remain the same for the students. So you get to see what a job shadow is all about. You have the name of the activity and the description. The student just puts in the name, the date and time, sorry, and then the reason why they want to do that particular activity. And this will go to that main contact. So in this case, at this demo company, the main contact at the school is Leo A. It could be Mrs. Smith, whoever, and then this is the student's name on here. So the important thing to note is when students make a request, this doesn't go straight to the volunteer. I said earlier, when a student posts a question to the discussion board, an email gets queued up, it goes out to the volunteers moderating that board at 10 p.m. Central. When an activity request is made by a student, it actually goes to that student's educator. And this is why it's good to start thinking, who at my school can do this, play this role. Ideally, someone who already knows career cruising and is already, doing this sort of workforce connection as part of their job at the school. So you make a request. This is our segue into CAMS, the Career Advisor Management System I said earlier. For those of you that don't know, it is the educator side of the program. So right now, when I log in, you'll be able to see a few new things because Inspire is activated for this school. And also, I would have received an email because a request has been made by a student at my school. So in this case, Leo Abramoff at the school called Inspire GPS. I am the activity coordinator at this school, and I have everything that I've always had access to. There's a few new things here. When we activate Inspire for your school, there's a Career Cruising Inspire section. You can now also receive messages related to Inspire. So of course, one of the message types are the notifications when an activity is made. Also, you might have employers messaging, and you might have the Inspire administrators, Melissa and team, messaging. And that can be, about an event that's coming up, company has job openings, for example. They also have the ability to message students directly, but those messages have to be approved by Melissa and team because those are going straight to the student's inbox. So just to kind of keep the students safe. So this is what a message request looks like for educators. The main contact there who's moderating the activity at the school, which you'll have to let Melissa know who that is going to be. We'll see this in an email. It'll look very much like this, and see it here as well. So it's basically telling them, look, a work-based learning activity request has been made by a student at your school. It's for a job shadow at this company called Forward Wisconsin. The student's name is Julie Dresky, available from the November 19th to the 23rd, 10 to 2. Why? So this is the text we just entered on the student side. I love this company and I'm available in the dates above. So here, what the educator can see that the students can't is the contact information for someone at that company, in this case, Forward Wisconsin. And then you also are going to have Inspired Northward contact information. So here it'll likely be Melissa or someone from Northwest Wisconsin Workforce Investment Board. The reason why you have this is because now the ball's in your court as the activity coordinator to help move this activity request along so that the student can go on that job shadow at Forward Wisconsin from November 19th to the 23rd. And then as soon as you do that, the request goes to a volunteer. So you can see here it's in requested status. You have a few options at the bottom to change the status so that it's pending volunteer approval. And for those of you that are maybe in a larger school, just work with Melissa, let us know. We can also make it so that the students' advisors receive the notification and can approve it. So just let us know if it's too much for one person. But essentially what's happening here is the educator can review what the student has entered. Maybe the educator will even go and talk to that student at the school and break it down a little bit further and then share his or her details for the volunteer. In this case, I am Sample, last name, at Forward Wisconsin, right? So I can say, and then you can check with volunteer. There is another option here. The client is pretty self-explanatory, but there is another option here, confirm and finalize. This allows you to essentially finish the process. So if you picked up the phone, let's say, and you just talked to I am Sample, and you said, hey, the student's great, they want to come in, are you available on the 19th to 23rd from 10 to 2? Like, yeah, I'm available at 11 on the 20th. You can confirm and finalize. If you click check with volunteer, then it just kind of moves the process along through the system. So if I click here, you can see that it's now pending volunteer approval. And the only thing I can do is decline. So now the ball is in the court of that volunteer. If we click on Manage WLA Request, so you probably saw here there's a tab called Career Cruising Inspire. I can now see that there's an old activity that's pending action for me. That's why we have that exclamation mark. And then this one is not, it's pending volunteer approval. So here you can do a couple of things. You can either click here if it's been 2, 3, 4 days and follow up with that volunteer, or you can reach out to Melissa and team and say, hey, the student made a request, I approved it right away. The volunteer hasn't responded. So this is really the only piece that's like, we really need your help with this one because the student's requests never go straight to the volunteer, kind of like the discussion board posts do. The activity requests have to be approved by that main contact at the school who will be playing this role. So this is a big thing I know Melissa wanted me to cover today. Any questions about this whole process?
No.
Okay, hopefully pretty simple. There is also a short tutorial here. So if you click on there, you'll hear more of my voice. And then you can also make a request on behalf of students and record a request. So for maybe whatever reason something was requested and happened outside of the system, you can record it here so that we know the activities that are taking place. There is also a totally new set of requirements that you can assign to your students. If we click here on portfolio completion standards, again, I mentioned earlier that Wisconsin is a decentralized state. Every district can pretty much do whatever they want to implement ACP. There are some suggested ways and implementation ideas put forth by the DPI, but you do have a lot of flexibility. So if you are using completion standards at your school, which are essentially grade by grade level requirements, know that when we activate Inspire, you're going to have the ability to assign 3 new requirements for your students. You can assign minimum number of discussion board posts to a career board. You can say, no, I want my seniors to add 3. Hit save. You can add a minimum number of posts to a company discussion board. So same thing. And you can require that your students save a company profile to their My Plan. So you can say, I want students in grade 10 to save 3. At least you know that they've clicked on a company profile, reviewed it a little bit, and they've clicked on that, save to My Plan when looking at a company. So that's another thing to just be aware of, if it's your job to sort of figure out the implementation plan of career cruising at your school or district, you'll have this new set of requirements. And then lastly, and then I'll pause for questions. When we activate Inspire for your school, there will be some, I mentioned this earlier, some activities, some resources under helpful documents. So you do have on the inspiredwi.org website a bunch of things that were created by Inspire administrators and in collaboration with the DPI, but also from here, Career Cruising, go to helpful documents and you have Inspire key features, the activities guide. So what happens when a student makes a request? What happens after that? What do I need to do? There are the lessons, right, or the activities I mentioned earlier. So you can print all of that from here, from the helpful documents. So that's under helpful documents. If you want to see engagement, we also have under portfolio reports the ability to see companies of interest, message board posts by students, and then also an evaluation report. So after an activity has been completed, so students said they're available, from the 18th to the 22nd, the educator went in and, suggested a more smaller time window, that activity went and took place. On the day the activity happens at midnight, a form goes out asking for feedback from the student to the teacher and the company. It's basically, did you do the activity? How would you rate the experience from 1 to 5? Would you recommend this to other kids? Things like that. So you have here some work-based learning activity evaluation reports. I don't think I have any data on here, but you do get to see what it looks like. Did you complete the experience? What kind of activity did you participate in? And this Melissa has access to as well. I'm not sure how much you'll be needing here or needing to do with this, but just wanted you to know some reports under portfolio reports. You already have access to all of these, but at the very bottom, you will have an Inspire section when we activate Inspire for your school. I'm trying to think, everyone, if there's anything else I need to show you. I think that covers the gist of it. What will change in CAMS? What will change for your students? Briefly, what the activity request process looks like. We talked about recruitment and some ideas around that. Any questions for me, for Melissa, about Inspire or Career Cruising? Melissa, is there anything holding people back from going live now? Could we potentially activate a few schools after today?
I guess in terms of going live, one of the steps in the process, and I know I haven't met with all of the schools that are on the webinar today, but I want to ensure that staff that are going to be utilizing the career discussion boards are educated and informed about making sure that their students are aware of how to phrase and craft appropriate questions. I know that with the statewide integration, our career coaches were getting inundated with some very inappropriate questions from students, to say the least. So in terms of our internal processes with Inspire Northward, the next steps would be, after we have this training webinar available, I would be coordinating with all the schools on making sure that staff receive the proper training and understand what Inspire is and what it will look like, and how their individual school district is going to be choosing to use it. And then once that has taken place, then we would step forward with the activation process.
Perfect. That sounds like a good plan.
So if no one has any other questions at this time for Leo, I believe this, in terms of what I had asked you to address and cover, Leo, you did a fantastic job outlining that for us. I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your day to sit with us this afternoon and go over Inspire.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure, Melissa. And I actually did see a question here come in. Maybe she doesn't have audio, but Shauna asked or mentioned she's getting resistance for guidance office. Can I activate, use it with my special ed department students only? So Shauna, the answer to that is we can activate Inspire on a per school basis. So we could prevent for the whole district from going live, but we can't really just activate this for a group of students, unfortunately. Hopefully that answers your question.
On that note, in terms of the resistance that she may be facing, do you have any recommendations in terms of coordinating and working with staff that may not necessarily get onboarded to the platform? I'm just thinking in terms of Shauna's instance and others down the line, if there's any advice that you may have on that note.
Mm-hmm. It depends a little bit on what the pushback is. One of the common ones I get is around the legal department at the school, right? They just want to make sure all of the background check processes are, up to their standards. So maybe it's just, working with that team and letting them know, we use backgroundchecks.com. They do pretty extensive checks. So it's, navigating that conversation. So that's one common one that I get. And I think in addition to that, another one we get is related to the workload. This is going to be a lot. We're going to get a lot of requests from students for activities. How are we going to manage? So then we would work with that school to make sure that there's advisors assigned to students here in camps. And then we can make it so that not only that activity coordinator, but also advisors get the notifications and have the ability to accept an activity request, so we can navigate through that. Those are probably the two biggest ones. People are too busy, or they're concerned about the students. Maybe I would throw this back to you, Shauna. What's the reason for the pushback, I guess, or the resistance that you're getting from the guidance office? And we can always work offline, you, Melissa, and I, if you like, but just curious what you're hearing there on the field.
And don't feel like you need to provide anything, Shauna. We didn't mean to put you on the spot. I apologize.
Yeah, for sure. We can always talk offline. And then Dan asked if there's a minimum number of businesses you need to activate Inspire. So typically I say about 50 businesses, Dan, when a new Inspire region comes on board. But in a way, like, the nice thing for Wisconsin is that you guys already have so many businesses that your students have access to across the state. Again, you're kind of piggybacking on a lot of the work that's been done in other regions. So this is a little bit of it is up to the folks at Northwest Wisconsin Workforce Investment Board if they have a minimum number that they want to recruit specifically for their region. And there's a benefit to having that, because when your students log in, they can always remove the filter but by default, they're only seeing businesses and activities within a 50-mile radius from their school. So I guess I defer that to you, Melissa. Are you kind of doing a target number of volunteers and businesses in the system before you, activate this for the schools?
We initially we had been attempting to do some target numbers. However, with the statewide integration, our thought processes and with the meetings I've had with several of the people on the call is if they're getting trained and activated in Inspire, it doesn't make sense not to utilize this tool until we get the business recruitment end established. We are there. We are getting there. We are making efforts with the recruitment. However, just through speaking with my colleagues throughout the state, the other administrators, we've been approaching our recruitment efforts in a lot of ways that they have been doing things and seeing success. But however, we also recognize with this initiative that Northwest Wisconsin is different than the rest of the state, especially where Inspire itself has its roots in a lot of like the southern half of the state. Madison in particular has a very successful Inspire deployment. But however, our approach right now is what we've been shifting to is we are essentially, as we're meeting with our school districts, we're essentially asking them, what relationships do you currently have with businesses that we can better specialize and target our outreach? So we're kind of shifting the way that we're doing things. And like I said, I apologize. I know everyone on the call is at different stages in terms of where, if they have met with me or not. But I know, Dan, in particular, with your questions, we'll be addressing those next week when you and I sit down with Kelly, too, I believe, to go over that and everything. So it really is kind of up to the individual school district themselves if they feel comfortable joining the platform with access to the whole statewide integration as a whole, or if they want to wait and hold off to have more local businesses incorporated. So it's kind of, we're trying to customize it to meet the school district's needs as well. So.
Perfect. All right, everyone. Well, that's all I had. We're already a few minutes here over time. Melissa, I guess you'll be in touch with everyone. And if anyone needs any immediate support, reach out to us, and happy to help. And thank you so much for making the time and for helping the students with this platform. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.